Hello and welcome to the NCG Top 100 podcast. My name is Tom Irwin and some of you may know me as the co-host on the NCG Golf podcast. Thankfully I've escaped from my weekly WHS debate with Steve to talk more about what I really love, golf courses. With over 700 courses on my personal bedpost, including most of the top 100 courses on these shores and a fair few beyond, golf course debate is in many ways the reason I'm in the golf industry. And being able to bring you this brand new show to you is a real privilege. Each episode will bring you a different insight and voice from the world of top 100 golf courses, and what better place to start than at the very top. We're in the committee room at England's best golf course, Royal St George's, and I'm joined for this virgin voyage by Club Secretary Colin Sinclair. Colin, thanks for having us.
Pleasure, Tom, thank you.
So you, I think, are basically a podcast topic in your own right. I've had a right riffle round on your LinkedIn page, and I've been able to establish a few things, but I haven't quite been able to work out where you're from.
I was born in Inverness and didn't stay there for very long and then moved down to just outside Glasgow, Helensburgh. So that's where I did my kind of junior schooling in Helensburgh. And then from there, I learned to play golf in Helensburgh and then moved across to Dundee where I went to university. So I studied law at university for 3 years and decided that wasn't for me and joined the PGA.
So where was your kind of golfing education and where were you a member as a junior?
Helensburgh and Forfar Golf Club.
Right.
Is where I kind of learned to play and lovely clubs and I got a good grounding. My father was a very good player, as is my mother and my sister, and it was kind of just a family event every time, just going out to play. So yeah.
Was your father also a pro or?
No, he's an accountant,
Right,
but he's an internationalist, played off +1, and incredibly competitive, and got the kind of juices from that, and then at Forfar itself had a Stuart Wilson who won amateur championship.
Yeah.
So they had a lot of very good players, and
So was your dad part of that kind of? There was quite a lot of rock and roll Scottish amateurs, wasn't there, in the 70s?
Yeah, he wasn't.
Charlie
at that
Green
standard. We got Charlie Green, but he was at Cardross, which is just next door to
Yeah.
Helensburgh. So father would play with Charlie Green, but he wasn't at that level. He was county player.
Okay.
He played for Scotland once, but he was a tidy player.
Yeah.
He introduced me to the game. But
Yeah. I think my uncle's a guy, my mum's uncle rather, is a guy called Hugh Stewart from. Do you know Hugh?
Yes.
From Mercer.
Yeah.
He was kind of part of that scene in the 70s.
Yeah, you had Ian Hutchin from Montefieth. You had obviously Charlie Green, Hugh Stewart, David Blair up in Nairn. He was a little bit earlier than that, but yeah, the kind of Colin Dalglish, Alan Thompson. So yeah,
it's an amazing thing because
proper amateurs.
Yeah. And these people, if I meet people from Scotland of that kind of profile now, they all know these names.
Yeah,
and it's just that is not the same in England. And I just feel like that was a very much a period in time in Scotland where, like you say, they're career amateurs, right?
Very much so.
Played in Opens, played in Walker Cups.
Yeah.
But I guess there just wasn't the money in the professional game at the time to incentivise people.
Yeah, maybe. But I think they enjoyed what they did. I think
I think they definitely enjoyed.
Yeah, they enjoyed the amateur side, and obviously there wasn't the money in these days in the pro game. So, a lot of great players.
Yeah. So you're from golfing stock, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, very much so. Yes.
And what you've managed to kind of maintain that into your working career. So your CV is kind of top 100 ranking in its own right. You've been at Blairgowrie and
just
Walton
lucky.
Heath.
Yeah. I was at Blairgowrie for 6 years with Gordon Kinnock, who was the professional. Great, just the most amazing man, great mentor. I was so fortunate to. I didn't even work. I just got to hang out with him. I couldn't believe I was getting paid. I think they paid a lot, I must admit, but you weren't even doing it for that. It was just learning. And actually, David Scott, who's the GM at Dumbarnie, David was trained by Gordon, so he would, he had a name for training, and Gordon was retiring in '97, and I wasn't, I wasn't going to hang around for somebody else, so. And he knew Ken McPherson at Walton Heath because Gordon's daughter Sarah was a member at Walton. And I remember him phoning up and just saying, look, my senior assistant is moving on. I see you've got a position. And then, I got the position from there. And Ken, incredible as well. Ken customer service was just off the charts, how good. Kind of Gordon's business acumen and Ken's customer service. I was, between the two of them, it was something like 90 years experience in the golf industry. And I was getting that all for nothing. And, I was fortunate. And Walton was great. Just, a wonderful club, great members. And then just right out of the blue, Carnoustie were looking for a pro. The general manager, Earl Smith, knew Gordon Kinnock, and two of them were talking. He said, "Oh, my guy's down south." And I remember getting a phone call, and in '99 is when I started at Carnoustie.
Yeah, amazing thing. I think you've kind of gone from the north to the south and north to the south, but which is a long way in miles. But the golf world, it's very small, isn't it? And you've kind of described some of it there. I think that I always think it's like a little bit of a bubble, that we all think it's perfectly normal to drive 300 miles to go and play golf somewhere, because that's what it's all about. And I think it's great that you've worked at some of those prestigious venues. I am very taken with the Carnoustie stuff. I was trying to work out how many Opens you would have been there for. I think three, yeah.
99, 7 and 18.
Yeah, and that 99 Open must have been a kind of hell of a time to start, because that was the kind of when Carnoustie's reputation as Carnoustie.
Yeah, well, it had. I don't like Carnoustie. Don't like that word, but because it's not nasty.
Come on. At one point, you were giving out certificates if you played to your handicap, weren't you?
That was the hotel that did that.
That was it. Okay,
yeah, that's right. They did that. Yeah, it was. I'd been off the rota for 24 years, so 75 with Mr. Watson's win. And just if you look at the winners, Armour, Cotton, Hogan, Player, it was incredible.
Yeah.
And yeah, rabbit in the headlights. It was my first head pros position. I was 28, and yeah, it was, you were kind of learning on the job, and we actually got to merchandise to the public. So Arnie had their facility, and then we had a marquee.
Goodness
and we were
me,
the
that
last,
does date it, doesn't it?
Probably did it that badly that we were the last pros to do it,
Right.
and it was an incredible week. It was all very surreal, but the course was the winner. Carnoustie, the course doesn't need rough at Carnoustie, doesn't need it, and they had ridiculous rough for that period. But that aside, everybody still talks about it, and then it goes into a playoff, and it's quite funny that Carnoustie, that 75 was a playoff, 99 was a playoff. 7 was a playoff, and 18 was nearly a playoff, and that could have been an incredible playoff with Tiger and Rory and Spieth, with Molinari, and Justin Rose as well. So, Carnoustie gave me everything. I got the full gambit of golf operations, membership, 2,500 members, 20,000 visitors, tournaments with the 3 Opens, Women's Open, 2 Seniors Open, men's, women's, amateur, British boys. Yeah, I got the full gambit. So I'm well trained. Carnoustie would put you through management leadership training. They would invest in you. They would invest in the product of the course, but they invested in the people as well. And I was obviously very fortunate to get that.
And they built that fabulous new pro shop facility there now, haven't they?
Yeah, 2018 it opened, and just again investing in the facilities.
Yeah, and for three golf courses. And
you have Championship, Burnside, and Budden.
14 clubs, is that right?
6. Yeah, 14 clubs in your bag.
Yeah, sorry. Which is like a phenomenal sort of thing to presumably have to manage. I don't know.
Yeah, clubs are slightly different. I mean, obviously in the east coast of Scotland, it's a lot of, back in the day, you would have multiple clubs associated to the courses, but we didn't operate the clubs. They were separate from Carnoustie Golf Links, who I worked for. But you had 6 clubs who were all affiliated to the course, but you could actually be a member of the club and not the course.
Got you.
So you wouldn't actually get to play the course.
Okay.
So you would join the course first as a season ticket holder, and then you would join the golf club for competitive golf and social activities.
Yeah, amazing sort of golfing town. And I think those Opens, as you sort of say, they all stick in the memory for different reasons, don't they? The most recent one, I think, was sort of torched, wasn't it? And the links played as you'd hope it would play, and I can just sort of remember it being very, very fiery. But if you go back to that 99 Open, I was wondering, did you play at all?
I did. I played before the event. I did play as a marker.
You didn't?
No, I didn't play as a marker. But obviously we played before the event, and it was, it was incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and the storm day was the Saturday, was it?
No, it was windy, but it was windy Thursday, Friday. But Saturday was more. It was dry on the Saturday, but it was breezy.
Yeah.
They were you missed the fairway, you lost your ball.
Yeah.
And Van de Velde doesn't really miss many fairways until he came down to the 18th when he.
So where were you when that was happening?
Right behind the 18th green. I was actually in the shop to begin with, so our pro shop was in the hotel behind the 18th green, and you could. It just was all kicking off, and it was taking forever and a day, and then eventually, when they holed out, he went off into the playoff. I just kind of walked out and went into what's called the bull ring, right at the back of the 18th green, and we just kind of stood there. And we actually went through the gate, and we were on the back of the 18th green when Paul was hitting his 4-iron in to a couple of feet, and the crowd were going wild, and yeah.
Which must be one of the most easily forgotten shots in golf, that 4-iron they hit into there, because it obviously just got.
Well, I think they forget he birdied 17 as well. So he bogeyed 15 and 16, then birdied 17, and he hit this incredible shot into a tight pin. It was kind of back right, and wonderful.
Yeah. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And any Tiger stories for us from that point? Any encounters with Tiger?
No, not really. I mean, obviously he played. I mean, if he'd putted half decent in '99, he would have won it. But he played 99, 7. Only probably Tiger stories in 7. It was actually Jim Furyk was in the shop, and it was pouring with rain on the Thursday morning, because I'd actually was stimping the greens, because obviously wasn't doing the merchandise then, so I thought I'd do something, stimp the greens, and we came in and were soaked. And I remember being in the shop, and Jim Furyk came in and said, "Can I get a rain grip glove?" I was like, "Yeah." So we got a glove out, and I always remember putting it on. He put it on so tight. I mean, it barely fitted him. I thought it was too small, but anyway, he said, "No, I want it as tight as I can get it." And then all this kerfuffle, and he just looked out the shot. He says, "Tiger's going to be coming along the corridor," because everybody would stop. Even players would stop. And Jim says, "Watch this, players will just stop, and Tiger will walk past them." And it's because they were in awe of him. Jim wasn't, but yeah, and then he would wave, he called him Jimmy, and the two of them had a chat, and then Tiger went out to the first, and then Furyk's still in the shop, and you just hear this, "Oh," Tiger hit it out of bounds.
I remember,
hit it left, and when we heard it, Jim Furyk says, "He must have hit it out of bounds." And so yeah, that's a kind of a Tiger story.
He's a terrible starter, Tiger. A bit like Rory, sort of nervous, anxious kind of starter. Amazing thing for players of that ability.
Yeah, because the first at Carnoustie,
it's a long way left.
You've got half of Angus to your right hand side, and but the greatest in the game can do it as well. So he was if he had putted half decent in 7. Sorry, in 18, in 99, but in 18 he had a hell of a chance.
Oh God, it was so good.
When he hit that tee shot into the bunker at the 10th South America in the last round, where he was 1 behind at that point, and he hit this miraculous 6-iron. How he got out of the bunker, over the lip and over the Barry Burn onto the green, and the noise was incredible again when he hit the green 2-putt, and he's in the lead, and the atmosphere, it just lift everything in the village. I know that I remember speaking to Martin Slumbers, and he was saying that the viewing audience just went that way, just on the back of Tiger's in the lead. And then at the 11th, probably the easiest hole in the course, he doubles it. And then, but at one point there was Tiger, Jordan Spieth, Justin Rose, there was Kevin Kisner, Rory. It was like the PlayStation playoff. It was going to be unbelievable.
It was a phenomenal Open. You recount it like very eloquently, and I remember that shot on South America that Woods hit out of that bunker. It was ridiculous, and it did feel like he was kind of cresting back to where he was at that point, didn't he?
Yeah.
But some of his interviews afterwards, I thought, were quite kind of revealing, that he was talking about Molinari's golf in quite reverential terms. I remember listening to him talk about his short game particularly, and he was kind of in awe of Molinari sort of hooking chips or hitting little cuts when he was pitching the ball. I've never sort of heard Tiger talk about someone else's golf respectfully before, and he kind of felt at that point that perhaps some of that awe that you described from the previous Carnoustie Open had kind of deflated.
Yeah, but it's quite interesting. On the Saturday, Molinari on Hogan's Alley, number 6, his ball hit the out of bound post, and it was that in bounds from his tee shot. Now one flick and he's out, and it's there's so many little stories going around. But Molinari in the last round, I mean, I think if he missed the green, he upped and downed it, and it was a great winner. But at Carnoustie, the course is always the winner in a championship, and that was the easiest you were ever going to get it. It was 70 degrees, it was sunny, it was windy on the Sunday, the little bit of rain on the Friday morning, which there was no wind. I mean, you couldn't get it any easier. The rough had burnt away, and 8 under won it. It's a struggle. It's incredible.
I had a great week personally that week. My friend, younger than me, but someone that I know really well personally, qualified he was a sort of young pro at the time, a lad called Ashton Turner, and that was his first ever Open. I think he subsequently played at Portrush as well. And his golf coach is my oldest friend from home. He's a PJ Pro and taught him since he was 4 or 5. He'd never been to an Open before, and he came to that Open with inside the ropes range pass to coach his protege. So I had sort of the privilege of walking a few practice rounds with them, and I just thought the golf course was set up phenomenally that week.
Yeah, superb. Yeah.
And not a weakness there, I don't think. Like if you go through the holes, like it is just one good hole after another. We did a podcast in the run up to Christmas about best Open holes, and it's amazing how many come up at Carnoustie or how many are in the conversation.
Yeah, it's from. I never thought I would say it because to me Carnoustie is the best layout until I came here.
Yeah.
This is just, we'll obviously talk about it later, but
yeah.
There isn't a weakness at Carnoustie. You've just got to hit quality shots.
Yeah.
And it's when you get to it's the 15th, people talk about 16, 17, 18. I've never known a finish to a golf course where you are hanging on for dear life. Because you'll just fritter it away. You could have the best score and you can just have a complete disaster and not hit that many poor shots.
Yeah.
But I've never known a place where you get to the 15th tee and it's like, wow, this is when it really starts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of, you break it into thirds at Carnoustie. First third, you can make your score. Second third, consolidate. Last third, hang on.
Yeah.
Because you'll just ruin it very quickly.
Yeah. Maybe we should do another podcast that's just about Carnoustie Opens. It feels like you could talk about it all day.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it must have been. I mean, it must have been tough to move on from there. And then you went from there to Nairn, which is a club that we know pretty well, both professionally and personally. Fantastic members club. Like, feels like a very sort of unique place. I was there for the Curtis Cup. You'll be able to tell me what year it was.
2012.
Yeah, in 2012. But again, a sort of a club and a course that's got a phenomenal history, and the museum room there is just
the
exceptional.
best, the archive, yeah.
And I know that they're now kind of done quite a lot of work on the Bothy, which is just a very, very cool piece of course furniture. How was that sort of transition from moving from head pro
it was. I kind of had my time at Carnoustie. That being head pro, I was kind of responsible for golf operations, and I felt I'd gone as far as I could, and I thought that I was in a position that I want to kind of manage a club in its entirety. But I felt I had to, I couldn't just go and manage a Carnoustie. I had to go elsewhere. And because being born in Inverness, my dad was a member at Nairn. My wife and I were country members at Nairn, so we knew it very well. And it just, again, it kind of came out of the blue. And I was, incredibly fortunate. And we thought it was a nice. Our daughter was 6 at the time, and we thought, what a great place to grow up. And the club. Believe it or not, 1887, the same as here.
Is that right?
It was established, and they love their golf. I mean, they're so passionate about their golf. And then there was obviously, the club had made a big decision to do a redevelopment of all 18 holes from Mackenzie and Ebert. And I kind of came in halfway through that project. And it was elevated, the condition of the golf course, which was always great.
Yeah.
Ian Carston, who was the superintendent, then he was his deputy, Richie Ewan. Fantastic. Richie does an amazing job. And it was just, trying to just get that course, just trying to make it a little bit more challenging was kind of the brief. And it's a fun place to play. And the members, because most of them live locally, it is different to here. They're there a lot, and they play a lot, but they absolutely love it and passionate. And again, as you say, to the Archive Room, which was kind of a brainchild of Alistair McIntosh, who was the vice president, and an Alistair Adam and a Douglas Fowley, and just labour of love for these chaps. And they just created something that is like, everybody talks about it. Kind of the golf geeks in the world that, we don't have that. It's something that, we would certainly like to. We've got some incredible memorabilia, but the way that Nairn do it is as good as anywhere.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Bothy is, it's a big part of the experience. And that's what you're trying to create at a golf club, that, just these little USPs. And the Bothy is, is very cool. They have, I know it's open, it wasn't open every day when I was there, but it's pretty much open all the time now. But they have a Bothy day, which is the week before Christmas. And it's all in old-fashioned garb that the members go out, and you play foursomes out to the Bothy, and then you have a nice lunch and quite a few drinks, and then you play Texas Scramble, one hole, the 10th to the 18th.
Brilliant.
And it's just so much fun, and a nice dinner in the evening. And but what resonates at Nairn is their absolute passion for golf.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it does have that feel of a club that's used by its members.
Yeah.
And that whole coast, I don't know where did you live in Nairn, or did you live?
Yeah, 16th. Yeah, just on the right hand side of 16
Okay.
is where we lived. We still have a house there, and yeah, it is just it's a lovely part of the world to live, and but the Highlands in general is and it's very accessible now. I mean, you got Inverness Airport was literally 10 minutes from Nairn, and great connectivity to everywhere: London, Dublin, Amsterdam. You name it, you can get connected into the Highlands, and
it's a phenomenal golfing coast, like that whole Moray coast, isn't it? From like Lossiemouth and places like Elgin, or even Forest, like little local.
Oh, you've got all your little hidden gems on that, what we kind of call that side, but then you go across, obviously Castle Stewart, but then you go across and you got the kind of Muir of Ords, and there's Strathpeffers, the Trose and Rosemarkies, you got clearly Dornoch, which is phenomenal, but you got the Taines and the Golspies and the Broras. I mean, gosh, you could leave yourself for a month and play great golf.
We're going there next month, and it's a part of the world where you always feel, I don't know, it relaxes me going there. As soon as you arrive, you feel like the sort of pace of life has changed and everything just feels easy. I absolutely love the Highlands. Very covetous of that experience that you've had. And you've now moved here, down to the grim south.
As far north to south as you can go. It was just, we were very happy at Nairn, and just absolutely out of the blue, I got an email from a recruitment company, SRI, that I didn't know anybody there, and I remember getting the email, and it was March 2022, and I remember going to my wife Fee and said, "Oh, look at that," and Fee said, "Oh, you need to go for it." I never thought she would say that. I mean, she's unbelievably supportive, and I thought, that's a big move. I said, well, they wouldn't take me anyway, but she said, no, it's, I think for a family, but for you professionally, it would be great. And then, I just got incredibly lucky. And thankfully the committee selected me. And
you can't say no, can you? A good friend of mine, Richard Weeks, has just moved from the club that I'm a member of, or Woodley, to be
Birkdale.
Birkdale.
Yeah.
And he's my sort of age, I think, maybe a bit younger even. And when he was sort of talking to me about going for the role, and it kind of takes a little bit of time to sink in, because it's like the top of the tree, isn't it? Like you open venues, and those two courses particularly are the 1 and 2 in England, depending on who you're asking. So this is high profile stuff that we're talking about, and the Open comes round every 8 or 9 years, and the eyes of the world are upon you. It must be a different experience from being here to being at Nairn. You can tell me
yes and no. It's my role is, well, not really. My job is to lead. Our committee set the strategy, and as I always say, the kind of the executive, we do the how, and I just have a very talented team that we know what the plan is. We know what our purpose is, and why we exist. We want to be the finest private member golf club in the world. That's what we're trying to be. But it's just having a clear plan and fantastic support, because you need resources to do it. But you need good people. I'm surrounded by very good people who are very passionate about the club and the members. And that's the big difference, I would say, here, is that our team are so passionate about the members. But it's reflected from the members. The members care for the team like I've never seen before. Our members don't play that often, because a lot of them, 65% live in London. So the average you play 6-7 times a year. So they're not here all the time. But when they are here, it's a special moment for them. And it's the care that they have for the staff is just fantastic.
Yeah, I think that is an overlooked aspect of private members clubs' life in general. I think that's a sort of commonality amongst several, where people treat their club like it's an extension of their house, don't they? And by proxy, the staff as an extension of their family. And I think there is a kind of what is the word? A kind of benevolence to the cultures in clubs like this. I think one thing that I always wonder, because I've never had the privilege to be a member at somewhere quite so highly ranked, is that we are literally in the best course in England, according to most observers, and certainly National Club Golfer. So to the outside world, this place is kind of as good as it gets. Now, even at my club, people moan about the greens and the nuances of WHS and the price of a pint and whatever else. Does that happen here?
No.
No. We just have a sort of a big pile
No,
of satisfied people.
it doesn't. It generally doesn't. I mean, we're a foursomes club, so we don't play a lot of events. But
pace of play is not an issue.
It's. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't get a complaint now and again, because it's predominantly 2-ball golf. Pace of play is pretty quick. But what I would say here, in comparison to Nairn and to Carnoustie, is the IQ of our member. They've got a very high golfing IQ. They get the game, they understand it, but they understand what a golf club is about. It's not just about a golf course. Now, we have one hell of a golf course, but it's the golf club experience, whereby you could come down here on your own, not even have a game planned. You go into the smoking room, sit down, meet a member, have a chat, and then you're on the first tee with them. That doesn't happen everywhere, because a lot of clubs have their sections and their cliques, as sometimes we'd call them in Scotland. There's not that here. Definitely not. There's camaraderie. It's, you know what you're joining, and you're joining a club that is foursomes golf. We allow, you can play your own ball if you're on a 2 or on a Tuesday. It's 4 balls can play. That's going to be Tuesday and Wednesday next year. But it's their golfing IQ, and yeah, they're wanting understated elegance is probably how I would describe it. But they want the finest service, and that is what we are here for. As simple as. So our golf course has improved. Condition-wise, I wasn't impressed that much when I started, and even I said that in the interview. Not a Carnoustie condition, and definitely wasn't a Nairn condition. But Carnoustie is the benchmark for a condition of a golf course, I would say, anywhere in the world, and I'd argue that with anybody. It is just the finest condition golf course. There's a lot of resources that go into it, but it's been years of incredible practices, and we weren't doing that. And we've got a new head greenkeeper, Greg Easton, that started in 2023. He's doing a phenomenal job. He is a high performer, and he's got his team absolutely engaged. And the condition of the golf course has improved, but we've got a long way to go if we're trying to compare ourselves to Carnoustie.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a little bit about that, because there's quite a lot going on here off the course. You've got construction outside. What is that about? Well,
it's a huge investment from the club in, first of all, the clubhouse facilities, but it was very much staff welfare. So new kitchens, new showers, new staff room, locker rooms, and then we extended our snack bar, and then we looked into because a 130-year-old building, the mechanical and electrical work within our main club rooms. So it was a 15-month project, and which finished on time, on budget last week. But so that's kind of phase 1, and phase 2, we'd be looking at a greenkeeping facility that we would like to build. Again, welfare facilities for our team are not to what they should be, but also the size of the, what you call the greenkeeping sheds, because we've just signed a partnership with John Deere that we're bringing in a lot of new machinery. A lot of it's electric, so we just have to make sure that what we build is for the future. So the club is investing on the course and off the course, because we want to be the very best.
So that is interesting about that construction being pointed at staff. It's interesting you mentioned greenkeepers, because it's often the last thing people think of is the kind of greenkeeper working environment. We do quite a bit of work with Bigger, who are often talking about that sort of welfare aspect of things. So that big investment off the course, and then again to the sort of relative layman, the golf course to me, I've been coming here for a long time and used to come here a lot in the winter when I lived in London, and I've always found it to play absolutely superbly well regardless of the time of year. We're here in November, I think, or October last year, and just thought it was in phenomenally good condition and still providing kind of like a very stern test even off those winter tees. So what are you doing to improve the golf course, and how does that conversation come about? The last renovation was it 2009 with Ebert?
Yes. The course doesn't actually need much in a way done to it. What we're trying to do is refinement of the turf. That's the most important part, is to get the surfaces, whether it's tees, fairways, greens, surrounds, they have to be of the highest quality. So and that's just good greenkeeping practices that Greg is instilling with everybody. But in regards to the layout, not a huge amount. We're looking at just adding a little bit of length to it, but it sounds bizarre because we have a massive estate here. I mean, the course is 55 acres of cut grass, but the estate is 550 acres.
Is that right?
But actually trying to extend a golf course for a championship, it's not as easy as and straightforward as you think it would be. But it just, there's a little bit of, yardage that's going to be added to it. But the actual layout, no, it doesn't need to be touched. It's like Carnoustie. Carnoustie is probably the longest. It can get stretched to about 7,500 yards, which they never play off. They play it in a members competition at Carnoustie, the Hagen Trophy, every May. But we're 7.2. We'd like to stretch it to maybe just 7.3, 7.4. But it doesn't need anything done to it. And again, it's down to Mother Nature. It's a living, breathing organism, a golf course. And Mother Nature will set up the golf course. You talk Carnoustie in 18. That was a dry summer. It was brown. If you look at 2007, it was a freezing cold summer and it was wet. And they always move the tees forward. So I think it's having the flexibility of actually you can move the tees forward, which we can't do.
Yeah.
So hence the reason we're putting a little bit of yardage on it is the plan.
Yeah, I think that is an interesting description of coping with that sort of distance challenge. Because I always think the same thing when people are talking about the distance the ball goes and something's done about it. And I always think, well, it kind of does until it's a 30-mile-an-hour side wind and the ball's running on the ground, and then it doesn't really matter how far you hit it. It's about how you control your ball.
Yeah, I think we would like to get our course playing firm and fast always.
It's
trying to get the greens firmer than what they've been, and pros do not like the ball bouncing around. They don't. I remember playing with Adam Scott in 18 kind of practice rounds, and I said, "You're never going to find it easier." He says, "No, I find this tougher because he can. It's like throwing a dart. He knows his numbers when it's jumping around, and then you obviously throw in the mix of the wind and." Yeah, that'll prove a challenge in itself.
I think that's a really interesting thing to dig into, actually. So I had this exact conversation with someone last week about a restoration at Moortown in Leeds, which may or not be a course that you know.
No, it's just across the road from Old Woodley.
That's right, yeah. And it's a Mackenzie original, and they're using a guy called Clyde Johnson as the architect there to kind of try and restore it as close as they can to its 1929 characteristics. And that will be all the things that you would recognise of restoration of width, and they're extending greens and they're removing trees, and they are taking out bunkers that have been put in over the years actually and putting in some restoration bunkers. And I think that is a challenge for some members to kind of get in their heads, but this is a trend we're seeing everywhere, right, in terms of tree removal and the restoration of width. And there's one particularly stark example there, which I think is the 15th, where they've removed all the tee bunkers. And the fairways now must be 150 yards wide. It's proper Spirit of St Andrews stuff. And it works if the ball is bouncing on the ground, because the camber of the fairway runs it into a ditch, and the angle then matters into the green. If it's soft, it doesn't matter. And I think that's kind of the elephant in the room with a lot of the restoration work that happens and the maintenance of historical venues, is it needs the ball to bounce. So to what degree do you think you can affect that here? And particularly as an open venue, like, can the turf be worked on to such an extent that it is going to dry out quickly? Are we going to see aeration in greens? To what extent does sand coring work, do we think?
Well, certainly if we talk about the fairways, first of all, we've got a lot of slope to our fairways. So that course, believe it or not, 250 years ago, a long time ago, I get it, was in the middle of the English Channel. So it's all reclaimed, it's all silt. So you've got this incredible dune escape effectively on the
fairways. Yeah,
and as much as the slopes on there, we are putting more sand on the fairways, trying to get that pure fescue, where we necessarily don't need to scalp the fairway. We can drop the blades, but you'll get the ball running firm and fast. We bought a top changer, the VGR top changer, which is injecting the sand into the surface. So a couple of reasons for that: to firm them up, but again, to get better quality grasses, as in more fescue in the greens, whereby we can get them firm. And again, we don't need to just drop the blades. Again, I mean, if you've got a lot of bent and pull in your greens, you're having to drop the blade. With the fescue, we don't need to do that. But certainly the VGR, we bought it, the year before we bought it, and it has made a difference. Without a doubt, it has made a difference. And that's at this time of the year.
Yeah.
You can feel that they're firm.
Yeah.
And I think that it is noticeable, the weather, that it is warmer, it is drier down here. So for us to get that course firmer and faster, it is certainly easier here than it is, say, where Portrush is, where Carnoustie, Troon, etc. So we do have the benefits of the weather. it can sometimes be the detriment because then you get into a drought period and you can lose it. But we've actually, the club invested a few years ago on reservoirs. So, we're trying to use water sparingly because we do want the course firm and fast, but we don't want to kill it. We don't want to lose it. So, yeah, we can certainly get it drier without a doubt. But I think you hear a lot of the pros saying they don't particularly enjoy St George's because they get quirky bounces. They don't get quirky bounces. If you hit it in the wrong place, you get a quirky bounce. But if you hit it on the spot, you don't get a quirky bounce.
Yeah.
It rewards quality golf shots when sometimes they can spray it a little bit and they don't get funny bounces. Here, it will reward quality golf shots.
Yeah. I think it's the relative landing area on some holes is very small, isn't it? If you think about holes like 5 and 10 maybe, where the fairway's almost like a reverse camber in some instances.
Down 10, if obviously right-handed golfer and you've got it just turning over a little bit, it's going to kick and it's going to go left. But if you hit it where you're meant to hit it, you'll be on the fairway.
But it's also a straight hole where you have to shape it into the hill, basically, don't you? I think that is, it's a place that's all the better for knowing that there's nuance to all of those fairways, actually.
Very much so.
12 is similar, isn't it? And I think that is a really interesting thing that you're saying, because this distance debate is obviously going to rage on and rage on and rage on, and often it's crystallised around open venues, and particularly the old course, where there's this debate about, does it matter what the score is the old course now outdated? And I think that applies to a greater or lesser extent at lots of historic venues, and often people will say, well, move the tees back or grow the rough, but I always kind of have this niggle, well, actually, if you can get the ball moving on the floor, it's hard for everybody.
You would rather... well, there's an example at Carnoustie in 18. There was no rough.
Yeah.
And there was the best weather.
Yeah.
But it was firm and it was fast.
Yeah.
And they didn't tear it apart. You go to the Dunhill in October, it's cold, it's damp, and they rip it apart.
Yeah.
So
what is the maximum length of course here? Is about 7.4, is it?
No, 7.2.
Okay.
7.2. We're looking to go to 7.4 is what we would like to get to.
And the members would play it at about 6.4.
Yes. So we have our tees of the day. When you said our winter tee, we don't have winter tees because we don't have a winter golf course.
Okay.
We just play normal golf all year round. A couple of kind of protective measures on one or two of the fairways, but our members are standardly play around about 63, 64, and that's equally enjoyable. But we have a lot of good players here. And so if you go off the kind of what we call medal tees around about 69, it's a good challenge. It's a good test.
I think that is the other thing that's lost in this whole debate about length of golf course, is that you're talking about the absolute elite of the elite playing at a golf course at 7.2 that's not quite long enough. For everybody else, 6.3 here to a par of 69.
Yeah.
Well,
I think the professionals are 1% of the golfing population.
Yeah.
Average handicap is 16.9. 6,300 yards is a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I think that is a sort of important point to make, and hopefully anyone in charge of refining a golf course is listening. That was really good. Thank you for that. I enjoyed listening to that. So the golf course is like a big thing here, obviously, but the off-course experience is possibly equal to that, or maybe even slightly surpasses it for some members.
Yeah, we'd like to say 50-50.
Right.
A lot of courses, or a lot of clubs, maybe the course is kind of 80% of the experience. Yeah, the clubhouse experience, so when our members and our temporary members, say we don't have visitors, we have on our P&L it does actually say temporary members, that people come down for the day. We want you to go away and say that was the best day's golf I've had. Dress up. Who doesn't like dressing up? Come into the clubhouse, have a lovely lunch, go play and then have a lovely lunch. But sit down with your friends and just we generally talk about golf, and sitting in the clubhouse, you're looking at all the history that's around the wall. It's very cool. It's a lot of fun, and we have standardly it's a carvery, but it's of the highest standard. Our head chef Clive and the team, they do fantastic. But they love what they do as well, and it comes across in how they cook. And the dining room experience at St George's is it's a special day.
Is that every day?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Amazing. So would you describe yourselves as a lunch club with a golf course, or is that doing a golf course a disservice?
Yeah, I would say so. A lot of people will say that, but we're a special golf club. That's what we are. And we just happen to have, a great clubhouse experience combined with course. Yeah. But you might, again, You might just come down. We've got fantastic practice facilities. You might just come down and just hit balls for the day. But what is noticeable that I would say all of our members, when they come down and play, they go into the clubhouse. That's not necessarily the case. A lot of people, car park golfers, play, drive away, don't see them. They will all come into the clubhouse. And that's why we can have this, this experience 7 days a week.
So what you're building up a kind of a description of a club where perhaps the members use it infrequently, but when they come for a day or
it's exactly that.
2 days and make the most of it.
Yeah, if they come, because we have dormy facilities, if our members are travelling from further afield, they'll stay at the club and they'll be here for 2-3 days, play 6 rounds of golf, have some nice lunch, and we don't open in the evening unless we have a members match. Then they'll go into the town and they'll use the restaurants and the bars and the pubs in the town. So the money that's generated for this local area is coming from our members and from our guests as well.
And you're encouraging visitors to use the club in the same way.
Oh, absolutely. Well, they're temporary members. We want you to come for the day.
Yeah.
Come down early, go to the range, hit balls, go play, have lunch, have a bit more lunch. Yeah, you'll have your favourite course, you'll have your favourite pro shop, you'll have your favourite lunch. What we would like is this is your favourite day. I'd like to think ours will be the best pro shop and the best range and the best course, but ultimately it's the day. And it's, interestingly, you said about, when you go into the Highlands, you think, you're going to go in, pace of life. I find the pace of life here slower than Nairn.
Right, okay.
Because we don't really have tea times in the afternoon.
Yeah.
It's a lot slower and people are switching off. I mean, the world that we all live in is frenetic, it's fast-paced, it's instant. It's not here because we don't have mobile phones within the clubhouse, which is my phone, like everybody else's, goes all the time. It's lovely to have it away, just to go in and switch off. And that's a big part of the experience because everybody's busy, family, business. Not when you come here. You can literally switch off and just enjoy a great day of golf and camaraderie with members and
that is
friends.
I think you've sort of explained that very well in the sense that in a well-used members club like a Nairn or the club that most of us are members at, you're often fitting your golf in amongst the rest of your life, aren't you? And it's kind of, I've got my Saturday morning game and then I'm dashing off to go to kids' football or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's very much your leisure time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's good.
It's funny because when we're an hour and a half from the centre of London, and the pace of life here is slower than it is in a sleepy village in Nairn in the Highlands. Yeah. For me personally.
Yeah. And you live on site, don't you?
Which is
brave.
Yeah. Well, it's not brave. It's definitely not brave. Very lucky. I say the club look after all of us incredibly well, but for my family and myself, we get really very well looked after. And it takes you kind of don't switch off. Yeah. But you've got to learn to do that. Yeah. But I open my curtains in the morning and I see the best golf course in the world. So
it's pretty amazing.
And as for a golf geek, then it doesn't get better.
Yeah. Now we've got sort of touched on some of the traditions of the club here. You mentioned earlier about dressing up for lunch, and it is a very traditional club, isn't it? I think in the best spirit possible. There is quite a lot of pressure in golf at the moment. Pressure is probably the wrong word, but there is a trend in golf at the moment that the sport is trying to modernise, and a lot of the messaging coming out of the governing bodies is about how we need to make the game more inclusive and more accessible, I guess. And there's almost sort of a homogenisation or a kind of a drive for homogenisation, it feels. How does St George's kind of cope with that, or how much is it listening, I guess, is my question.
Oh, we're always listening.
Yeah.
We have Women in Golf Charter, the EDI policies that the clubs are all implementing. But I think we're actually ahead of it because we don't have ladies sections and senior sections and different competitions. We have one club. We have one member, whether they're male or female, and the competition, everybody can play in them. So it's, obviously it was a number of years ago, there wasn't lady members here, but the model here is the model to copy with regards to, you don't get these little cliques and groups. And we have an incredible junior week, which is so unique in August, whereby and they're not necessarily members yet, but parents are, grandparents are, and there's 150 juniors from 5 years to, our intermediates up to 24 years of age that are coming here to play golf and just having a great old time. And again, a lot of our members, this is a third club to them.
Yeah.
Because most of them do live, in London. But they're, we're open for, we're supporting the local community with the going into the primary schools for kind of try golf. So the golf, golf at Royal St George's does so much for the local area. The club, it doesn't announce this, but it puts in a significant amount of funds to local charities every year. What's called the St George's Endowment Fund. So there's a lot of money that gets put out into the local for good causes, and the club just does it. That was set up by one of our past captains, Jim Brambello. So they're always thinking about the community. But regards to people coming to play golf, it costs a certain amount of money here, and not everybody can afford that, which I understand. But the club does reach out to the local community. I'm not saying it did 100 years ago, but it's certainly, for a number of years it's been doing that. And we understand our position in the game of golf and what we should be doing for it. And the fact that we have rules, I think we should have rules. I think the society's losing it in certain places, that people are not abiding by rules. And our rules are just simply asking people to kind of dress accordingly. I don't see any harm in that. It's not stopping you. Now, if you don't want to wear a jacket and a tie, that you don't need to. We have our snack bar that you can come down. But all I would say is you're missing out on a great clubhouse experience if you're not doing that. So, we're offering the balance there. But, we know we need to grow the game. But for a club that is seen as a third club, when most of your members live away, that can be a challenge.
Yeah, and I think the conversation around things like dress codes that you mentioned there, I think that is kind of moving on a little bit from perhaps 4 or 5 years ago. There was a lot of sort of tub thumping about and sort of almost sort of sneeriness about dress codes. But I think now perhaps people are beginning to realise there's kind of space for all different types of club. And actually at a place like this, perhaps we should be kind of leaning into some of those traditions. And as you say, who doesn't like getting dressed up? And you would be very disappointed, I think, if you came to a place like this and you didn't have to get your shirt and tie on, because that is all part of the scene.
Absolutely, and you know that. I mean, again, it's and it's nice to be slightly different. If we're all doing exactly the same thing, it just dilutes it. And so you're wanting to go to character and charm, and and we're kind of custodians passing through time, and we want to kind of hand it over and in a better position than we found it, but we don't want to lose the traditions. I think it's a perception that some people might have of the club or clubs like ourselves, is that can't play you. No, you can come and play. We're open for for our temporary members to play twice a week, come down and enjoy it, and everybody's incredibly friendly. We talk about Scottish hospitality. The hospitality in Kent is outstanding, but they don't shout about it. Scotland, you shout about it. It's like in your DNA that you're trying to sell your country. You're proud of your country. Come and stay, come and play. Doesn't seem to be the same down here. And maybe in England in general, that it's that you don't shout from the rooftops about what you've got. You tend to criticise it. They don't do that as much in Scotland. Come and play, come and stay. And certainly having moved down, family down, the thing that kind of resonates with us is how friendly everybody is, and very much at the club.
There is that very much a distinction, I think, particularly in golf, with how English people are about their golf and how Scottish people are about their golf.
It's different.
Scottish people wear it like a badge of honour. We sort of wander around kind of a bit embarrassed to say we're a golfer, and it's kind of something you do. It is a funny thing, that. You touched on the sort of lack of competitive golf, the comparative lack of competitive golf that the members play, but you do have some very traditional and very, I think, what sound like very cool competitions. You've got the Hewitt coming up, which is
it's in 3 weeks.
It's always Masters weekend, isn't it?
No, it floats. It kind of floats either side of it.
Very vivid memories of Alice commentating on the Masters, saying,
"Of course, the Hewitts on just now." Incredible event. I mean, 640 golfers, 64 teams of 10, incredibly competitive, and it's primarily. Royal Cinque Ports is where all the kind of 4 days are played, and 2 are played here on the Thursday and the Friday. But out with the competitive element is what it's doing for the local economy. 640 people eating, drinking, staying in hotels, guest houses. They're leaving a lot of money in the local economy, and generally what they're doing is they're well connected. They're members of a lot of great clubs, and they just encourage people to, you want to go and play at Royal Cinque Ports, or play at Royal St George's, or play at Prince's, because that is what we're really trying to do, is encourage people to come down and play golf in Kent, because we, as in this part of the world, but again goes back to England, England has not sold itself in any shape or form. They allow guests. Why not just get a great quality guest?
Yeah.
And when Scotland and Ireland have been doing it for 50 years and they're doing it really well,
Yeah.
to a point they're saturated. There are no more tea times in Scotland
Well,
and Ireland, but there is here.
It's an amazing thing, isn't it, that a lot of those Scottish trophy venues, for want of a better expression, are full of American tour buses, aren't they? And I think you were at the PGA show as I was, and
Yeah.
it's the Scottish venues and it's the Irish venues who are there exhibiting in the main, and there's obviously some public investment into some of that sometimes. But it seems to be difficult to get the US tourists to kind of look further afield than their Irish ancestors or the Scottish.
Yeah,
Open
it's,
venues.
we're in an emerging market. Sounds really strange saying that because we've been here, 130, 140 years. But, the devolved governments of Scotland and Ireland, as you say, they put the money in. There is no money for Visit England. There isn't such a thing
There's
as
no
Visit
concept
England.
of it, yeah.
So the clubs, if we are obviously, as part of our strategy, to go after a US market, because we believe that we are trying to generate revenue. We're not going to hide from that. We're a club like everywhere else. That we're a business that we need to generate funds to invest back into capital projects that we've got, and we are doing it collaboratively with Princess and Cinque Ports to say, these are 3 open venues, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Come and play them. Right now we do have availability. I'd like to say in the future that we would be sold out, but ultimately is this different to what they would get back home? Yes, but is it as good as Scotland? Yes, it is.
So I mean, one of the things that I would sort of pick up on, which probably joins together a few of the threads of things that you've mentioned, like the quality of golf here is, I think, unsurpassed in certainly in England in terms of the proximity of the courses. And some of the tourist areas in England that we talk about are England's Gulf Coast, where you've got Birkdale and Lytham and Hoylake. They're quite a long way apart. Obviously, that Southport Golf would include places like Hillside and S&A, which do border one another. But certainly can't boast 3 open venues that basically border each other. And then you get into the Atlantic links in Cornwall, or even into Wales, where you've got Aberdyfi and Harlech. There are these little hotspots of golf, North Norfolk, but I don't think there's anywhere where there's quite this quality actually that's next to each other. And the other thing that I would pick up on is this idea of getting away from it. So we've made the drive from Leeds for this trip, and we've done that more than once. And Mike said just yesterday, he said, I do like coming here, but blooming heck, it's a long way from Leeds. But once you're here, you do feel like you are away. Like the towns are quintessentially English, aren't they? And
Very.
You are away from the sort of hubbub of real life. That you don't get that, I don't think, in some of those other outposts, because they're just off an A road or they're the other side of Liverpool or whatever else. So I think there is something in that in terms of this place as a tourist destination. And we've just done our English ranking, National Club Golfer have, and we did a kind of rundown of the top 10. And it sounds stupid to say it or try to say it, but there is something quintessentially English about a lot of the venues in our top 10. So places like Walton Heath, places like Woodall Spa, here obviously, there's a kind of uniqueness to them that should be celebrated, and it's the Englishness.
Yeah.
And I think coming here, you obviously get that in spades, like not least the flags, but Cinque Port's the same, like the clubhouse at Cinque Port's I think is absolutely sensational. And even being at Prince's today, like it is a different experience, and the golf course is different, I think, from the other 3. It's kind of stretched rather than crumpled, if that makes sense. But the welcome you get there, I think, is a very English welcome, and it's a very busy and popular club to be part of. So I think that there is something in the marketing of this as a destination, and you're doing something very cool, I think, with the Hagen 54, which is kind of almost kind of bringing to life something that the clubs have done together for a number of years. And
it's so it's a sole celebration. Walter Hagen in the 1920s.
Yes, I've been in his bunker this morning.
There we are. So 1920s when he was playing at Cinque Ports, he played all 3 courses. Now the Hagen Hoof are members of Prince's, Cinque Ports and St George's. We play a match 12 aside, and you play 18 holes at Prince's first at 6 in the morning, and then go to Cinque Ports and play your 18 holes and have a lunch. and then in the afternoon come and play here 18 holes, all in the one day, and then have a dinner in the evening where everybody falls asleep.
And how do you move about? Are you minibused or do you walk
No,
the
you
whole
just jump in
thing?
your car. So that's the 18 holes. You play them separately.
Yeah.
Now for the Hagen 54, and this is James Leah, the general manager at St. Ports, his idea, great concept from James, that play it the way that Hagen played it. So Hagen didn't do it that way. He played the first 11 at St. Ports and thought, what's over there? Jumped the fence and walked. Now in the tournament, we'll bus you. And then you play the 6th through to the 13th here, go through the fence, play all 18 at Prince's, come back through the fence, play 14 through to 5, get back on the bus, and then play the 12th in.
What's the bus for? You can walk. It's just around the corner, isn't it?
It's a bit more than that around here. Not from Prince's, but from St. Ports to here, you want to get a bus. Yeah. Right. Yeah. 5 minutes in a bus as opposed to half an hour carrying your clubs.
So I'm thinking that from the
12th to...
From the tee on Maidens, the 6th tee here, if you sort of reverse back to the sea and then you go along the coast, surely it's not
you're
very
going
far.
up and down banks. It's a lot more civilized, trust me, going in a bus. And it's just fun. And it's for the fun. That's what Hagen said. I just did it for the sheer fun of it. I didn't do it I was trying to be competitive. And so we're doing that in the 3rd week in July. And it's going to be the 3rd week of July, always. Team of 4, come along and just enjoy the 3 courses in a quirky format. It'll be a shotgun, so off everybody goes. But you will play all 54 holes, and there'll be grab and go kiosks and a nice barbecue at the end. And we've got some cool branding as well. But it's ultimately it's to market the 3 great courses that are back to back to back, which you don't get anywhere in the world. There's not, as in major venues that have hosted the Open, there's nowhere else like it. It's completely unique. So, we're excited with it. The weather's got to be good. I played the Hoof the first time 2 years ago, and the weather was atrocious, and I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed it last year because the weather was amazing. But I've not done it the way that Hagen did it. And, we can't wait to do that. So
for that Hagen event, is shotgun start, and will it be 54 teams?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have 54. We've got a few spaces left, so hopefully we can encourage a few more people to kind of come along.
Okay.
But this is the start. So this is it's like what Bandon do the solstice. So, every year we will have the Hagen 54, and
that's a 6 a.m. shotgun.
It won't be 6 a.m. for the Hoof, so it will be slightly bit 9 o'clock, just 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Okay. Where will people feed themselves?
Grab and go kiosks all the way around.
So it's constant golf.
You just keep going. Yeah, because if you stop, then you gotta, it's a lot easier if you just kind of keep going.
So how long are you expecting that to take?
I reckon.
Is it better ball? Did you say?
Yeah. It's it can take anything between 7 hours or thereabouts. It's but it's not about. We're not trying to rush people around. It's ultimately we just want people to have just take in the links experience that the 3 courses, and then you see they're all different.
Yeah.
We're no more than 2 holes go in the same direction here, which is so unique. So you could have 4 different wind directions on the front 9.
Yeah.
When at St. Ports, it's kind of traditionally out and back, and with Princess slightly lower lying, as you see, kind of spread out. That they're all different, and to do that in one day, it's a bit of fun. And you're trying to do just these different experiences, because if you're just doing the same, you go on a trip, I'm going to play 7 courses, and it's going to up in the morning, play golf, do your merchandise spend, etc. This is different.
That is going to be
and it's not for everybody, because you've got to be relatively fit to do it. But it's we certainly know how much our members enjoy doing it. So we think that our guests will equally have as much fun.
I've spoken to some of the members about the members event, and it does sound absolutely amazing. I've also seen the logo for the
it's good branding.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah, Skip the hedgehog. Yeah,
you're going to sell some merch if nothing else.
And we've got it in, so yeah.
There's a lot of talk, isn't there, about trying to make golf cool and more appealing, and golf needs to be louder and faster and all this nonsense. But that event is a very cool golf event, and I think it's possible to sort of respect your traditions and still be cool, shall we say. The one thing I am going to ask you that I wasn't going to ask you, because you keep mentioning it, we have got an open tradition here, as in you've had, I'm going to say 7 opens, could be more.
A bit more than that.
Is it 9?
A bit more.
How many?
14.
14. I knew there was a 14. I said 14 earlier, didn't I? And Prince has had 1, St. Port's had 2. I know those ones. So when's it coming back?
We don't know.
Come on.
No, we don't. No, we don't know. We're obviously we're in dialogue with the RNA, but there's a lot to do. Open's a massive event now. It's a huge event. It's the best golf tournament in the world, but it's big numbers.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to do, infrastructure-wise, not on the course, away from the course. We're excited that it'll be coming back at some point soon. But at this point, I don't have anything.
Princes have a 100-year anniversary coming up in 32, don't they?
They will with Saracen.
Yeah, which would be a great thing to celebrate with an Open.
Yeah, you'd have to ask RNA.
I think we'll leave it there. That was absolutely fantastic. I love the sound of that 54 week. Are we down to playing that? I think we are, aren't we?
I hope you are.
Yeah, we are, yeah. That was a real pleasure. Lots of really good stuff, and thank you for being so candid and providing with
not
such
at all.
insight.
Pleasure. Thank you for your time.
What a great way to start. So thanks to everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed our very first Top 100s podcast. Do subscribe, give us a follow on any social channel. It's all the same, NCG Top 100s. On all the usual platforms. I'm at Tom Irwin NCG on Instagram. I don't have Twitter because I was hacked by a cat.